Chosen one, some doors don't close to disappoint you. They close to stop the bleeding. If you're here right now, it's not random. You didn't scroll into this message by accident. Something pulled you. Something nudged your spirit and whispered, "This is for you." And deep down, you felt it. That quiet recognition in your chest. The feeling that someone finally saw what you never had words for. You've been carrying questions in silence, confusion wrapped in faith, strength layered over exhaustion, smiling through storms no one bothered to investigate, and still, you kept going. You've been wondering why it ended the way it did, why the door didn't just close, it slammed. No explanation, no closure, just absence. But chosen one, hear this. Heaven does not move randomly. What felt sudden to you was calculated in the unseen. What felt like loss was actually interception. Something was unfolding behind that door that would have cost you everything. Your peace, your identity, your calling, your light. And chosen one, before we go deeper, pause for a moment, hit subscribe, and comment if your spirit is already responding. Because this message is about to speak directly to you. Let this be a spiritual agreement, not a routine action. A quiet yes between you and what's guiding you here. You weren't crazy for feeling drained. You weren't weak for struggling to stay. Your soul knew before your mind did. The longer you remained, the more you would have shrunk. The more you would have compromised who you were becoming. That door didn't close because you failed. It closed because you were outgrowing the room. Because light and shadow cannot coexist forever. Because the assignment on your life demanded protection. Chosen one, what you wanted would have demanded your time, your energy, your peace, until there was nothing left. That closure wasn't rejection, it was preservation. Divine timing stepped in when your heart couldn't let go. The universe investigated what you couldn't see. Heaven intervened where emotions would have kept you trapped. Stay with me, because what was hidden is about to be revealed. And once you see why that door had to close, everything will finally make sense. Chosen one, let's talk about the hidden cost of staying. Not all damage announces itself with chaos. Some of it arrives quietly, softly. It slips in while you're being loyal, patient, hopeful. While you're telling yourself, just a little longer. It will make sense soon. And from the outside, it looked like stability. It looked like commitment. It looked like strength. But deep inside, something sacred was being slowly negotiated away. Staying didn't hurt you all at once. It wore you down in fragments. In the small moments where you swallowed your truth to keep the peace. In the nights you felt heavy for no clear reason. In the way your laughter softened, your excitement dulled. Your spirit learned how to be quiet instead of free. Tell me, chosen one, when was the last time you felt fully at ease there? When was the last time you felt expanded instead of contained? Your intuition never stopped speaking. It whispered in discomfort. It nudged you through restlessness. It showed up as fatigue you couldn't explain. But because the warning wasn't loud, you questioned it. You called it fear. You called it overthinking. You called it weakness. Yet intuition doesn't scream. It signals. And every signal was trying to protect you from becoming someone who survives instead of someone who shines. You were paying for staying with your peace, one compromise at a time. A little more tolerance here, a little more self-betrayal there, and slowly the version of you that dreamed boldly began adapting just to endure. Do you feel that truth settling in your chest right now? That subtle ache of recognition? On the surface, staying looks safe. Familiar, predictable, but beneath it, erosion had already begun. Like water wearing down stone, the environment was shaping you in ways you were never meant to be shaped. You weren't growing roots. You were shrinking your wings, and heaven saw it long before you did. Chosen one, here's the part that matters most. You didn't lack gratitude. You didn't give up too early. You weren't unfaithful to the process. You stayed longer than most would have. Longer than was required, longer than was healthy. And when the cost finally outweighed the lesson, intervention stepped in. Ask yourself gently, if you had stayed another year, another season, another chapter, Who would you have lost? How much lighter would your spirit be right now if that door hadn't closed for you? The truth is this: some places don't destroy you, they diminish you. And the divine will never allow you to keep paying with your soul for something that was only meant to teach you, not keep you. Take a breath. Let this land. Because understanding what staying would have cost you is the first step toward honoring what leaving just saved. Chosen one, not every open door is an invitation to stay. Some doors open not because they are meant to keep you, but because they are meant to test your discernment. From the outside, it looked like opportunity. It came with promise, potential, and the language of destiny. It made you feel chosen, seen, finally recognized. And for a moment, you believed this was the answer you had been waiting for. But what no one tells you is this: some opportunities arrive wearing the mask of blessing while quietly preparing a bill you were never meant to pay. At first, the cost was subtle: a little more effort, a little more patience, a little more sacrifice. For now, you told yourself this was growth. You told yourself this is what commitment feels like. But chosen one, growth expands you. It doesn't drain you. Alignment strengthens your spirit. It doesn't leave you questioning your worth. So let me ask you, why did something that looked like favor begin to feel like survival? This is where the illusion breaks. When opportunity shifts from supporting who you are to demanding who you become, it is no longer aligned. When the door requires you to silence your needs, postpone your peace, or minimize your truth just to remain inside, that is not destiny. That is endurance. And endurance without purpose becomes self-abandonment. Your spirit felt the difference long before your mind could explain it. You felt it in the way you had to brace yourself instead of breathe, in how rest became guilt, in how saying yes meant saying no to yourself. And still you stayed, because you were taught that leaving means fear, that walking away means lack of faith. But chosen one, faith is not proven by how much you can suffer. Faith is proven by how deeply you trust yourself when something feels off. Walking away did not mean you were ungrateful. It did not mean you gave up on the promise. It meant you recognized that no blessing requires you to bleed to keep it. Heaven does not reward you by erasing you. What is meant for you will meet you in peace, not pressure. In clarity, not confusion. In expansion, not exhaustion. So ask yourself now, gently and honestly, were you being stretched or were you being spent? Were you becoming more yourself or were you slowly disappearing to maintain access to something that no longer honored you? Chosen one, some doors open only to show you what you are no longer willing to sacrifice. And choosing to close them is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is self-respect guided by spirit. It is the moment you stop confusing opportunity with obligation and start choosing alignment over approval. Stay with this truth, because when you stop sacrificing yourself for doors that drain you, the right ones open effortlessly, and they never ask you to trade your soul to enter. Chosen one, take a slow breath, because there is something you need to understand about what didn't happen. You often replay what you lost, what ended, what slipped out of your hands, but rarely do you pause to notice what was quietly removed from your future. The fatigue you thought was normal, the heaviness you carried like a routine, the way waking up already felt like effort. You told yourself this was adulthood, responsibility, growth. But deep down, something in you knew this wasn't the life your spirit signed up for. You were beginning to normalize exhaustion, to call depletion commitment, to wear emotional strain as proof that you were trying hard enough. And chosen one, that is how burnout sneaks in. Not as collapse, but as slow dimming. Less joy, less curiosity, less light. Tell me, when did rest start feeling like something you had to earn? Heaven saw what you were about to accept as permanent. It saw the version of you 5 years from now, still pushing, still pouring, still carrying weight that was never meant to be yours. You would have kept going, because that's who you are. Resilient, loyal, strong. But strength without relief turns into sacrifice. And sacrifice without restoration leads to emotional emptiness. The door closed before your spirit learned how to live without joy, before your laughter became rare, before numbness replaced feeling. What felt like interruption was actually precision. Divine timing stepped in not to punish you, but to preserve the fire inside you that you didn't even realize was flickering. Think about it now. How tired were you becoming? How often did you tell yourself, I just need to get through this phase, without noticing that the phase kept extending? You weren't weak for feeling drained. You were responding appropriately to an environment that was slowly asking you to abandon yourself. Chosen one, the ending wasn't just about removing something, it was about saving you. Saving your nervous system from constant tension, saving your heart from chronic disappointment, saving your mind from believing that heaviness was the cost of existence. You were spared from emotional burnout that would have taken years to recover from. And here's the truth that changes everything. What is meant for you will not require you to be exhausted to be worthy. Alignment feels steady. Purpose feels energizing, even when it's challenging. The right path may stretch you, but it will not drain the life out of you. So instead of grieving what ended, honor what was prevented. Honor the fatigue you no longer have to carry. Honor the light that didn't go out. And ask yourself, chosen one, what kind of life opens up when you are no longer running on empty? Stay with me, because what you were spared from matters just as much as what you were called toward. Chosen one, let's talk about why it ended the way it did. Suddenly, without warning, without time to prepare. The shock wasn't an accident, it wasn't carelessness. And it certainly wasn't cruelty. It was mercy disguised as disruption. Because if it had faded slowly, you would have stayed. You would have negotiated with your intuition. You would have justified the pain, explained away the signs, postponed your own freedom one more time. And heaven knew that. Gradual endings feel kinder, but they keep us emotionally entangled. They give us space to bargain with reality. Maybe it will change. Maybe I can adapt. Maybe I'm asking for too much. And chosen one, that is how people remain in places long after their spirit has outgrown them. Not because they are weak, but because they are hopeful, loyal, willing to endure for love, for meaning, for the idea of what could be. So the ending came fast, clean, decisive, not to wound you, but to protect you from yourself, to cut the cord before you wrapped it tighter around your heart. The suddenness spared you months, maybe years of inner conflict. It saved you from the slow erosion of clarity that happens when endings drag on too long. Think about it honestly. If you had been given more time, would you have left on your own? Or would you have stayed just a little longer, waiting for a sign that never came? The shock forced truth to the surface. It removed the fog. It didn't give your mind time to override what your soul already knew. Chosen one, clarity often arrives before comfort, and when it does, it can feel brutal. But clarity is a gift, even when it stings. The pain you felt wasn't just loss, it was the collapse of an illusion, an image of the future that could no longer be sustained. And while that collapse hurts, it also frees. Forgive the moment it ended. Forgive how abrupt it felt. Forgive the way it took your breath away. That moment was doing a job your heart was too tender to do on its own. It was closing a door you kept reopening in your mind. This wasn't punishment, it was precision. A divine interruption timed exactly at the point where staying would have cost you more than leaving ever could. You were not abandoned, you were redirected. So breathe into this truth now. What ended suddenly did so because your next chapter required immediacy. No lingering attachments, no open wounds. No half-closed doors, just a clean passage forward. Ask yourself, chosen one, what became possible the moment that door finally shut? Hold that question gently, because understanding the mercy in the suddenness is how you begin to trust what's opening next. Chosen one, let's gently talk about the silence, the ending that came without answers. The part that hurt the most wasn't just that it ended, it was that it ended without explanation. No final conversation, no clear reasons, no moment where everything made sense, just silence. And silence has a way of echoing questions louder than words ever could. You replayed it in your mind, didn't you? Wondering what you missed, wondering what you could have said, wondering if one more conversation might have changed everything. But chosen one, some endings are not meant to be understood. They are meant to be escaped. If clarity had been offered, you would have stayed emotionally connected. You would have analyzed every word, softened every boundary, found a way to justify one more chance. Understanding would have kept the door cracked open just enough for hope to sneak back in. And hope, when misplaced, can become a trap. So the silence wasn't cruelty, it was containment. Think about this honestly. If you had gotten all the answers you wanted, would you truly have let go? Or would your heart have tried to turn explanations into invitations? The universe knows you. It knows your depth, your empathy, your tendency to hold on even when it costs you. So instead of giving you reasons, it gave you distance. Instead of closure through words, it gave you closure through separation. Silence was not dismissal, it was protection. It protected you from overextending your compassion, from carrying responsibility that was never yours, from entering another cycle of emotional labor, trying to fix, understand, or save something that was already complete. The lack of explanation forced you inward, toward your own truth, instead of outward toward theirs. Chosen one, not knowing everything was part of your healing, because full understanding would have pulled you back into a story you were meant to exit. Some chapters end not with resolution, but with release. And release doesn't require permission from the past. It requires trust in what's ahead. Ask yourself this softly. What if the answers you were seeking weren't meant to come from them at all? What if your peace was never hidden in their explanation, but in your willingness to stop asking why and start honoring how you feel now? You didn't miss your chance to understand. You were spared from understanding too much, from empathizing your way back into pain, from confusing compassion with self-sacrifice. Silence closed the loop so your spirit could finally rest. So let the questions dissolve. Let the need for explanation loosen its grip. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not unfinished. You were simply guided out quietly because loud endings would have kept you looking back. And chosen one, as you stop searching the past for answers, notice this. How much lighter does your future feel when you no longer need permission to move forward? Stay here, because the quiet wasn't the end of your story. It was the moment you were finally free to write the next chapter in peace. Chosen one, this is where everything gently turns inward, where the lesson becomes an awakening. Choosing yourself was never meant to feel easy. If it did, there would be no grief attached to it. There would be no tears, no hesitation, no quiet mourning of what might have been. So if your heart still aches, let that be proof of your depth, not doubt about your decision. You didn't let go because you stopped caring. You let go because you finally started listening. For so long, attachment felt like love. Holding on felt like loyalty. Enduring felt like strength. But chosen one, attachment asks you to abandon yourself in exchange for belonging, while alignment invites you to belong to yourself first. And that shift, that moment you chose peace over persistence, that was sacred, that was brave, that was necessary. You didn't lose love. You released imbalance. You didn't walk away from connection. You walked back toward truth. The grief you feel now is not regret. It's the nervous system recalibrating after carrying weight it was never meant to hold. It's the soul exhaling after years of tension. So be gentle with yourself in this space. Let the sadness move through you without turning it into a question about your worth. Ask yourself this, chosen one, how many times did you stay attached because you were afraid of who you'd be without it? How often did you confuse familiarity with destiny? Choosing yourself required you to step into the unknown, and that's why it felt terrifying. But the unknown is where alignment lives. It's where the future you prayed for has been waiting quietly, patiently, without pressure. Peace is not selfish. Peace is sacred. It is the language of alignment. When something is meant for you, it does not require you to betray your intuition to keep it. It does not demand constant justification. It does not shrink your world to maintain its place in your life. What is aligned expands with you. What is real meets you in truth. By choosing yourself, you unknowingly chose clarity. You chose space. You chose the version of you that no longer negotiates with discomfort just to feel connected. And yes, something ended, But something far more honest began. You reclaimed your energy. You reclaimed your direction. You reclaimed your right to feel at home within yourself. So if you're standing here now in the quiet aftermath, I'm wondering if you did the right thing. Let me gently remind you, the right path doesn't always feel good immediately, but it always feels right in your spirit. The peace you're learning to feel now, that's alignment settling in. Chosen one, the future didn't leave when you let go. It moved closer. Take a breath and ask yourself, what kind of life becomes possible when you no longer abandon yourself for attachment? Hold that question close, because choosing yourself was never the end of love. It was the beginning of the